Transfer portal's gone off the rails a little bit. I got to be real with you. Transfer portal conditionally is a turnoff for me because I miss the old school ways of talent acquisition in college football. And I know many of you feel that way too, but I also know everybody who's watching the show is a college football fan, which means you root for a team, which means even if you don't like the way the portal works, you want it to work for you. It's working. I'm looking at the quarterback position right now. I'm looking at Sam Levitt. He's the number 1 overall player in the portal, obviously by way of Arizona State. Visited LSU. Really interesting times on that visit to LSU. Really interesting times after he left campus. You know, it's one thing to visit campus and get a lot of attention from the head coach, and then it's another thing to leave campus, and then the head coach like chases you down the driveway, which Lane Kiffin pretty much did. So he was at Miami this weekend, and it still hasn't made a decision as of 7:15 p.m. on this Sunday night, January 11th. I have to always caveat it because half the time by the time we go off the air, guys have committed somewhere. That's one to watch. All right, that's the big one. That's the domino everyone's waiting to fall. Byron Brown has fallen in a good way. He's fallen right into the waiting arms of Alex Golesh. It sounds romantic, but it's really just the portal. So he was Golesh's quarterback, obviously, at USF this year. He was the number 2 quarterback in the portal. It's really a huge deal because they've had a lot of attrition there. I don't think it's all a bad thing. But then again, I'm not looking for every coach who takes a job to immediately be a top 4 seed in the playoffs the next year. What I'm looking for Alex Golesh to do at Auburn is sort of wipe the slate clean, sort of clean the deck. And there's a lot of clutter on the deck. Sometimes that's in the form of bad habits. Sometimes it's just straight up in the form of guys who don't need to be on the roster. And then other times you're going to lose some guys that you wish you could have retained. This is not a fairy tale world, much like Shawshank in the movie. Prison is not a fairy tale world, neither is the portal, but this was a good addition. Byron Brown, because what you have to sometimes do is take a new job, and you either inherit a quarterback or you go portal in a quarterback, but either way, he's got to learn your system. Well, this guy doesn't, and Golesh is bringing more guys from USF, so, in the old school, you look down your nose at importing G5 players. We're Auburn University. This is the loveliest village on the plains. We don't need G5 players. Well, now, Kurt Cignetti says, you don't need what? What'd you say? Nothing, Mr. Cignetti, carry on. So no one really looks down their nose as much as they used to at that concept. Brendan Sorsby is at Texas Tech now. And that's officially done. I saw the reports, yes, before anyone even asks me, yes, I am aware that the reported price tag here is $5 million. Yes, it's insane to me. Yes, if that number is accurate, it's more than over half a dozen starting NFL quarterbacks made this year. Again, I don't know that this is the permanent landscape of the sport, but it is right now. So I'm not going to get mad at Texas Tech. I'm going to get mad at like 37 other people that made this possible. Probably more than 37 culprits in the room. As is usually the case with these people. There's never one face that we can attach to this problem. But the problem with Texas Tech, which was obvious in the playoff game, was they weren't dynamic enough at quarterback. That was kind of something I said all year about Baron Morton. This is not some anti-Baron Morton thing. It was just, are we talking about trying to win the Big 12 or are we talking about trying to win the national championship? They're talking about both there for the record. So they were going to be good enough to do one and not good enough to do the other, at least as I saw it. Happened to be right on that one, thankfully. Not thankfully for Texas Tech, but I remember after the game, I was talking to Joey McGuire after the game because it's right back to campus. You got to dive right into the portal. And we were just, he was disappointed because they just lost in the playoff and they had a really good season this year. And I said, hey, you just put a gigantic chunk of peanut butter on the bread. You just got to spread it out a little bit more. Feels like you got a million elite defensive linemen. Maybe we spread the peanut butter a little bit more. Well, they did. They allocated some of that peanut butter, or as you might know it, cash, at the quarterback position. And they may have gotten the best one available from Cincinnati. So that's Texas Tech. What about Longstreet into the portal? Husan Longstreet out of USC. Now, he was at LSU as recently as today. On3's got all this covered, by the way. Nakos and Wilfong and the boys over at On3 are covering all this. And it's updating by the hour. I actually have alerts set for Wilfong and Pete right now. And I don't set alerts for anyone. Jesse, I don't have alerts set for you. I don't have alerts set for anyone. But I do have alerts set for Pete and Steve right now. Number 19 overall player, number 6 quarterback. Oregon one to watch here to an extent. But LSU's got to get a quarterback. LSU's still in the market right now, so everyone's kind of waiting to see how they move. So that's one we're watching. DJ Lagway. Hey, do me one favor right here. Look down. Are you subscribed to the channel? If you are, thank you. If you're not, please click subscribe. It helps us keep the show free and free of corporate interference. All right, that's it for me. Back to the clip. Obviously, I have a disproportionate fascination here. Like I have a vested interest emotionally with DJ Lagway because I famously made him my #1 SEC quarterback entering the season. And we were flying to Phoenix the other day. We were flying through, it's either New Mexico or Arizona where that big asteroid hit out there. You can see it clear as day. And we're looking down at it. And it reminded me a lot of my DJ Lagway prediction, honestly, because it just cratered into the earth. It was a terrible, terrible year for myself and DJ Lagway in that order. But what you need to know is I have not given up on DJ Lagway. Now Florida did. John Summerall did, which is okay. It's his constitutional right to put together his roster. It's also my right to go down with the ship. DJ Lagway is my ship, and if he goes down, I'm going down with him. I just don't quite know where we're going to go down yet. Are we going to go down at Baylor or somewhere else? Because we're doing this weird thing right now where guys commit even though they're in the portal, and there's no need to commit because commitments are worthless until you sign. Why are we committing? No one knows. Anyway, he's committed in the portal to Baylor, but he's still taking visits. I do not trust anyone's word on this. If Meemaw were in the portal, I would trust Meemaw. But outside of Meemaw, I would not trust anyone's word in the portal. Respectfully, that goes for DJ Lagway. So, Baylor had the number 4 passing offense in the country last year. I still believe in DJ Lagway. I still believe in Dave Aranda. So I would like the three of us to just lock arms and see what we can do in Waco. Okay? Magical things can happen in Waco. Terrible things can happen in Waco. All right, it's really dealer's choice in Waco, Texas this upcoming year. Deuce Knight has landed at, spin the wheel, Ole Miss. We've all, obviously by now, I assume, seen the headline that Trinidad Chambliss had his waiver denied by the NCAA. I know they're going to fight that thing out in court. I am not a lawyer. Pate State Law School, very prestigious. I just did not come from the law school side of campus. And as for now, Deuce Knight, Auburn to Ole Miss. Look, maybe he starts for them this year. Maybe he sits 1 year. He's got a ton of potential. I mean, he was a 5-star in the class of 2025. So he just went to Auburn, and nothing at Auburn worked out this year, including Deuce Knight. But, I mean, the word on him out of high school was he was pretty raw to begin with. But once he gets developed, if he gets developed, he's a little over 6'4", 210, thereabouts. He's the number 49 overall player in the On3 portal rankings. I think his upside's way higher than that. It's just unrealized potential. Kenny Minchey. What a world. What a world. What a story. So Kenny Minchey last week was committed, there's that word again, to Nebraska. He verbaled, if you will, to Nebraska. And it was all done but the signature on the paper. It was all done but the most important part. And then he wasn't. Kenny Minchey just ripped Nebraska's heart out and Will Compton's heart out in the process, and he's now landed at Kentucky. Kentucky's doing some good things, and they've added other players as well, but I'm thinking about Nebraska. Like, you guys thought for several days you had your portal quarterback, and then you don't. And so what are you going to do? I got a disturbing call from Will Compton the other night. I thought his family was in trouble. I thought his home had been broken into. He used some very serious language, and in reality, all he was calling to inform me of was Kenny Minchey had sort of, hoodwinked Nebraska, and he was headed to Kentucky, and he was desperate. And that is where Anthony Colandrea of UNLV fame enters the equation. And I got to tell you, I think it's going to be a great fit at Nebraska, but don't take my word for it. We have, Jesse, I think this is pretty exclusive. We have exclusively obtained the Will Compton scouting report of Anthony Colandrea. You see it right here. Okay, these are inarguable. Super live arm, full of piss and vinegar, magic in his legs, total gamer. What more could you want if you were Matt Rule? Has it ever been more obvious that a double-digit win season is incoming than it is at Lincoln, Nebraska, with Anthony Colandrea just tooting the horn there in the engine? They're fine. They're fine. And if you didn't believe it before, Willie C's scouting report there. You got to believe it now. Austin Simmons to Missouri, which I don't know why a bigger deal is not being made about this. Maybe it is, and I've just missed it, but this is a huge deal to me. It's extremely underrated. What is it rated? Well, it doesn't look rated very high. He was the number 115 overall player in the On3 portal rankings. I'm not on the committee. I disagree. But whatever. Clean up turnovers, get him healthy, and that's a really good player. So Eli Drinkwitz got himself a quarterback that I didn't know that they were going to be able to get. They got him. This is semi-old news. We haven't talked about it on the show yet. And then the other one that I have circled, everyone has circled, is Dylan Raiola. The curious case of Dylan Raiola. So he's in the portal. And Oregon, according to Pete Nakos, is where he's visiting. I think he's up there even right now. And reportedly, Oregon is still a potential destination even if Dante Moore returns and doesn't go to the draft, which would be ironic because that would put Dylan Raiola on the Dante Moore path. Remember, Dante Moore, once upon a time, was committed to Oregon and then decommitted, went to UCLA, and then he came back and he sat behind a guy for a year. And then he assumed the reins this year, and that might end up being what Dylan Raiola does. So, like I told you, there are a million and one things going on in the portal right now. It's very important to follow if you really, really, really want to be up on roster, retention, construction. I mean, those are just quarterbacks that I talked about. I got a whole nother segment coming later about some of the other stuff going on. But I do understand if you're turned off by it, it's okay. It's okay to just hit fast forward on that part of the show. I do get it. I understand it's not for everyone.